And we are back at Mind in America with part two with Mike Collins of Nuclear Fuels. Mike is joining us today about his experience in Guyana at the former Jonestown site. I want to talk about something a little different with you. You worked in Guyana, correct?
Yep, and in Guyana and yep,
Okay.
in South America.
And in Jonestown was your
Part of
project.
our mineral claim, our mineral tenure, yes, our exploration project. Yeah. So
Okay.
as I signed off on the deal to uh, to get the claims, the gentleman who was on the other signer smiled and said, "Congratulations, you just bought Jonestown." And I was like, well, I knew what Jonestown was, which was where the horrible Jim Jones murder suicide happened. But and I knew it was Guyana, but I hadn't really put two and two together because I wasn't looking at the local geography for something that happened in 74. Yeah, and he was like, nope, it's right here on the map. And I was like, oh, that's great. Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you
So
so
you
much.
so you didn't know until you had it. So and for the
Yeah.
benefit of what I found is there's an age gap here in the knowledge of Jonestown. So for I find the millennials don't have as much knowledge. They know the saying, I drank the Kool-Aid or you drank the Kool-Aid, but not where it
Yeah.
comes from. And that saying comes from Jonestown.
Yeah. So Jonestown, um, I guess Jim Jones he was a Pentecostal preacher and had some very interesting ideas and developed a large sense of paranoia. One of the really unknown facts about this, it was actually Jimmy Carter's wife who um, asked the president of Guyana to provide Jim Jones with some land for his people because they were having so many problems in California.
Wow, I did
So
not
he
know
said
that.
he was acquiesced and said, okay, they can have some land out in near Port Kaituma. But yeah, one of these things, the further and further he got out, the more and more paranoid he became, and um, they had an investigation, a congressional investigation, to look into the living conditions of people at Jonestown, which didn't end well on any number of levels. So they had some people who burst through a prepared crowd and told Leo Ryan, I believe was the congressman's name, the truth about living conditions there. And as Leo Ryan left, um, Jim Jones decided the gig was up and mixed cyanide with purple Kool-Aid and convinced everybody that they had to drink it. And they did so. Over 900 people passed away, and at the same time, he sent an assassination squad to the local airstrip and shot the congressman and I think four aides.
Yeah.
So as they were leaving too, so quite a tragedy. And yeah, so we had a hammock camp about a mile and a half away from Jonestown because the creek that Jonestown was built around was really the only dependable year-round water supply within our claim area, nice and clean. Um, so, anyways, we had an open air hammock camp about a mile and a half upstream, and wasn't bad during the day, but at night, you'd be falling asleep, swinging in your hammock, gentle breeze, and in the distance you'd hear trees falling because it's so quiet. You can actually hear trees coming down or branches and things, and monkeys screaming off every once in a while, and it was a bit creepy and surreal, but
Yeah.
it was kind of
Yeah. But
beautiful spot.
you've answered a
But
question when a tree falls in the forest, right?
it does. You do hear it at night, but you don't during the day because there's too much noise during the day. It's kind of weird. But at night, it's like,
Wow. Wow. So harsh living conditions. I've seen a few documentaries on Jonestown, and that's a pretty harsh environment, and the jungle takes back over very quickly, doesn't it?
yes, Yeah, we didn't have an exploration in the area of the historic town. And I think if we had have had one, we probably would have avoided it, but we just didn't go in there. There's I think a few documentaries that have been done on it, and they've kind of gone in that, yeah, the jungle really, you'd have a hard time probably finding anything there at this point.
Yeah,
Takes
it's
back.
got to be a creepy feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just
Not so
that.
easy to fall asleep with. So,
Yeah. My little thing, venomous snakes.
yeah, we had some issues with those as well. There were a few that got macheted up. So,
Wow.
but
Yeah, I knew a geologist who worked. I don't know if he worked for you, but he worked in Guyana, and venomous snakes in the shower was enough to send him home forever.
yep, yep. Well, the one thing we did was we had the shower was a bucket by the creek, and but the washrooms were dug. But you'd pour a little bit of diesel in it because it would drive the critters out of the pit.
And
So
that's like my biggest fear in the world is venomous snakes. Like,
yeah,
what
they're not
what
much fun.
what drives you to want to work in such harsh conditions? Like, what is it about you that because I'm a chicken, right? Like, I really like my bed. I'm comfy. I don't want to see a snake, but
I guess I've always looked at
like,
the mineral opportunity, like the resource potential, and then dealt with the hardship afterwards, sort of thing. And as a kid, I always liked camping and things like that, so I think that might play some part in it. But I just generally speaking have been okay. This is our opportunity. How do we address it? Can we economically get there to do this, and come up with a yes or no? So
yeah.
that's sort of
I'm so intrigued and impressed by people in this, especially exploration sector, that go into a really undeveloped area and have a vision that they fulfill. Um, because
yep.
you are dealing with um, at times unpleasant work conditions, but there's a team spirit, correct? That pulls
Yeah,
everybody along.
absolutely. And there's some really special moments as well. There's a spot in Sumatra where I found about a, I don't know, 2.5 foot long elephant tusk in a creek,
Mm.
and a couple of my crew found the teeth, and so it was a natural death of a endemic elephant there. Um, Things like that. But I guess on the other side of it, I also turned 30. Um, I think 2 days after that, and everybody on my crew was Muslim, and didn't they don't count birthdays because the only birthday that counts is Muhammad's.
Oh,
So at least for Indonesians, that's their
yeah.
frame of reference, or how they explained it to me at the time. But so it's kind of you have these cultural disconnects that are kind of what's important to you and what's important to your team may be very different. You've got to be aware of that, I guess, too, to be able
Yeah,
to work effectively and have a good team spirit.
and I think if you're not in the sector, you don't really fully understand the breadth of the experience. It's very easy to kind of pigeonhole people. You're just out
Yep.
looking for minerals. No, you're working in a new culture. You're growing. You're getting all kinds of different experiences that you eventually bring, I guess, bring forward into every project you're doing, right? And you get better and better. And I know you and I have had a lot of conversations about working with community and how to do it proper. And I think you're probably one of the most like-minded people I've met on that front.
Yep. I'd agree with of the same mind. It's important. It's if you're not the community's not with you, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
You have a project in Labrador and you've been there and already you haven't even done a stitch of work on the ground, but you've already been in the community, correct?
Yeah, we did a little bit of work there, but we took the time when we were there to go meet with the local First Nations and say, this is what we're doing, and open that door, and it's just open. We haven't gotten very far. down the road of dialogue, real dialogue. But it's important to get in front of those things and have those conversations. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I respect the work that you've done a lot. And I think you've always been very, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You get the big picture. It's
Hmm.
not just the piece you're working on, you're getting how it fits within everything. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Absolutely. Building a mine is not just having an economic resource. It's, finding the right metallurgists, engineers who are innovative, yet at the same time have a clear focus on what's likely to work, as opposed to, we can all do magic sheets of hey, let's try this. And it's like, well, we're not trying a brand new idea with 140 of someone's $1 million of someone's money. But yeah, so there's those balances, and then bringing the community on board and making sure that it does mean something positive to them, as opposed to just dragging them along or pretending they're there with you.
Yeah.
So
You know, and we've both worked up in the Southeast Yukon on different projects.
yep.
Uh, and I still look back at you weren't part of our company when I say our company, our involvement on a project as one of the best times of my life. And a lot of that was at 40 below
But
in
that's
the
only
middle of
half the year.
nowhere.
That's only half the year in the Yukon.
I know, I know. There's
Yeah.
winter, there's not
Yep.
winter.
Yeah, no, good people, very good people up there. And yeah, taking the time to know them is rewarding beyond the corporate as well. That's
Yes.
something that you get to learn. And that's if you go someplace and you're like, ooh, I'm working someplace very cool, and you never get to know the people, then you've missed half of it.
Yeah.
That half of that experience is really understanding the community and how they see life.
Yeah.
Important. So
Well, this has been really enjoyable. Thanks, Mike.
it's a pleasure. Yeah.
And
Hopefully you call me back someday. We'll, have more of these conversations.
we will. I know you've got a lot of stories. I'm more than happy to keep going. I'll sign off uh, in the language from the Dene people. Naganastasi. It means I'll see you later.
Right.
No
So
goodbyes, right?
no goodbyes.
No
All right.
goodbyes.
Thank you so much.